All right, welcome back to episode 3 of the Davis Pickleball Podcast. Today we're joined by a very special guest, the nicest pickleball player alive.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Flemming. Alex, please introduce yourself so people know who you are.
Yeah, well, not sure I'm worthy of that title, but I appreciate
You
it.
are.
Confirmed by the internet. Everyone agreed on that reel.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm Alex. I grew up in England. I have been playing pickleball now for 3 years, and I absolutely just love it.
I actually didn't know you grew up in England.
Yeah, till I was 10.
Really? Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. All right. Frick. Well, I'm out.
Do you hear an accent or no?
I mean, yeah, but like it's not like big, not like Nick's
No,
or
not
anything.
like
I'm
Nick's.
It is different, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little twist, a little bit.
Yeah. When I'm in America, people think I have an English accent because they hear the Englishness of it.
Yeah.
When I'm in England, they think I'm purely American. So
Interesting.
some words you hear more than others. Now you mentioned it, I'm probably speaking more Britishly than I usually do. But yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with the nicest pickleball player alive, I made like this reel when we play, I think it was like our second or third time playing.
Yeah.
And I've always just enjoyed playing with you because, you know, you're always like complimenting my shots, and you're like, even when I made a bad shot, you'd be like, oh, that's all right, you got the next one. And I just like really like enjoyed and felt stress-free like playing at a higher level with you. And I made like a little reel on that, and a bunch of people resonated. I didn't know a lot of people would resonate with that reel, but tons of people are like, oh my god, I need an Alex at my course. Like, well, where's my Alex? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's so good. Like, yeah. So this is him here.
Yeah, I feel like that's such an important part, is, you know, making your partner feel good, making them feel confident, making them play their best game. And I feel like you're definitely such a good person at doing that. You know, you really just make other players on the court play their best game. How I feel anyway.
Yeah, no, and it's Alex. The term Alex became just like a symbol for being nice. Like everyone's like, oh, I want an Alex. And I don't know, for a lot of like for some stuff, it's like, you know, we make the video and it's like we see it, but it's like something that we see in particular. It's not like universally known. But for Alex, like I know since I started playing pickleball, like this was like actually a known fact, like in the area, like in Northern California. It was like Alex is like the nicest partner and nicest player in pickleball. Like 15 plus people like all confirm that. So
just all around great guy.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Could there be a better intro?
We love you, Alex.
I'm going to get every week. I'm never going to leave this place.
All right, let's get to the bad news now.
All right, roll out the criticism.
Yeah, that's good.
So let's talk a little bit more about your pickleball. So you're playing a lot of singles, doubles these days, or mix? What are you liking?
Doubles is my favorite for sure.
Okay.
My legs are a bit problematic right now, so singles is challenging.
I've seen you though. You can get around the singles court.
Yeah,
singles.
yeah. Once in a while.
Yeah, you can get around. Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely more doubles. Definitely men's mixed.
Nice.
So, okay, wait, so how did do you want to do like a little origin story for pickleball? Like, how
Let's
did
hear it,
you start playing pickleball?
I didn't even know where his origin birth was. So let's hear it.
Just existed.
Yeah.
Pickleball origin's more important anyway.
Yeah.
So like, how'd you start, and then like, was it immediate that you got obsessed, or when did that click and then you became really obsessed? Because Alex is obsessed. So.
I'm obsessed. This sport is incredible.
Yeah.
So I actually first started playing, the very first time I picked up a paddle was probably 5-6 years ago. My parents' country club, they had a pickleball courts. So I played with my family. And every time we go down there for Christmas, I'd play, enjoy it. But there were no courts or players up where I was. But then pandemic hit. Got hooked every day. Started playing.
Classic.
And started playing with friends. Gradually started to expand. Started to play tournaments. That's where I met Dylan a year ago. Actually, I should tell you that story. Okay. So,
this is a good story.
I know Dylan's gonna love this. So it was my first 5-0 tournament. It was a local tournament in Concord.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, first one, and there were only 4 teams. I knew 3 of the teams, the 2 other teams, and then Dylan and Dustin. I didn't know Dylan and Dustin at all. So the first thing I do is I look at their duper, and I'm like, there's like 512 and 506, which was just way higher than anyone else. So I think, who are these Sacramento invaders?
I can't
And
believe you remember that.
no, I remember, and I was intimidated. I was like, oh gosh, they're probably so good. But then I try to convince myself otherwise, thinking, no, Dupa's not the best measure. Maybe they're not that good. So I go to YouTube and I Google Dylan and Dustin. And,
oh my God.
And I don't know what they look like. And I'm thinking, I really hope it's not those two, because they look so strong. And of course it was. Because I first see Dylan, he's super strong, and then you look at Dustin, and he just makes Dylan look normal.
Absolute tank.
So I'm deeply intimidated. I know we're not going to win against them in the fast game, so we need to outdink them. But yeah, we both win our first matches, so we face each other in the finals, basically. Gold medal match. They win the first one, 11-8. Second match, we're down 10-9 or 10-8. Match point.
I don't remember.
My partner hits this remarkable shot off the court, brings what I think is just an easy winner. I feel like we're going to springboard off this, and suddenly I see Dylan flying over, and he's literally on the court next to us. He goes into a full-out dive, ATPs it, double line both corners. That was my introduction to Dylan.
Wow, that's as good as it gets right
Best
there.
story ever told. The details you remember is amazing.
I know, good memory.
He never forgets details.
Oh, wow.
Numbers, anything.
That's impressive.
All I remember is the ATP, but that was fun though.
Yeah, that was a good tournament. And then the first time I really played with you two, it's actually another good Dylan story. Jeez. So actually, no, it's not. It's kind of mixed on Dylan here. Okay. So I had played with Dylan a lot at that point, but not very much with either one of you. And we came up to Davis, played the four of us, and Dylan looked like he was very tired. And for the first hour, Dylan was, and he's rarely this way, he was not playing very well. He was probably the worst of the four of us on the day. And afterwards, I get lunch.
I like the old story better.
No, it gets better though, because afterwards I go and get lunch with Dylan, and I think through the games, and Dylan, I realize, won every single game. I'm thinking, how is this possible? And it goes back to having that chemistry with the people you're playing with, because at that point, I knew Dylan, I know you two, Neely, as well. He had made connections and played with all of us. And so we all, I think, played a lot better when we played with Dylan.
Yeah.
So playing with someone that you're comfortable with, who makes you feel good, and Dylan does that too, is a tremendous advantage.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I think you see at the top pro level, some of the best pros are so good at playing with other people. Like Tyson McGuffin, he's known to be able to make his partners feel really confident and stuff like that. So it's a really underrated skill, I feel like, to have, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of segues perfectly into MLP, which we just did yesterday.
Yeah.
So just give you guys a little background on what happened. This was my first time doing it. Alex, you've been doing it for 3-4 times now?
Yeah,
so past year. Same with Dylan, I think.
Yeah, a couple times, yeah.
Basically, it was an MLP event. There's 32 players, 8 teams.
For Northern California.
California. Yeah.
Good turnout.
Good turnout. And there was, maybe 4 or 5 people I knew out of everyone there. And we all had to play with people we have never played with before, and that could be pretty nerve-wracking sometimes. It's like, I've never played with you, I don't want to disappoint you, I've never played against them, I don't know what their game is like. But why don't we talk a little bit about the MLP, this event, like what happened, the drafting. You guys kept talking about the drafting aspect of it. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one because I feel like you were a lot more in tune with it than I was.
This guy,
a lot,
he had like spreadsheets going on or something.
I expect no less. Yeah, I expect
Oh my God.
It didn't help very much.
So
talk us through the format of the drafting and the tokens, everything like that.
Yeah, so we had 8 teams of 4, so 32 total players. 8 of us were captains, so we were basically doing a draft to draft 24 players. And each captain was given 100 tokens to bid on those players.
Yeah.
So someone would come up, I think Dustin was actually the very first person who came up for bidding, and all the captains were live on Zoom. And they said the big gun, starting with the big guns, quite literally, when just Dustin came up. And then how it works is we just go through and basically we can bid tokens, and whoever bids the most gets that player. So I bid 46 of my 100 tokens on Dustin.
Wow.
Got him, great start.
Yeah.
And then we went through the entire 23 until we each had our 3 players.
Yeah. And just to say, the whole Zoom call, Alex could not stop smiling. He's just so excited, I have to say. And the draft was awesome. It was a really cool experience to be able to use the tokens and actually draft players as well. And I think that's what they're going to be doing in the new MLP next year, aren't they? With the salary caps, kind of similar thing, aren't they? Yeah, so it was a really awesome system. I got KD, Milo and Lisa on my team. And then we kind of split off into 2 different pools, and then we played 3 matches against 3 other teams, and then the winners and the second place of the pools would go through to kind of playoffs. and then playoffs will play from there in the semi-finals and go through to the final. And we had prize money for the first and second place. So it was organised by Daniel. Shout out to Daniel, organised an absolutely awesome day. And it was just so much fun. It was so good to just, as you said, just get to know other people that we hadn't seen before. A lot of new faces, some new college tennis players coming through. So it was good to meet with everyone and play with just, a big group of people. It was really awesome,
Yeah. So I just had a question. So the order at which people came up for the draft, was that random, or is that like ordered by their skill level?
So the way we did it was we had a nomination order. So each of the captains was randomly assigned 1 through 8, and then you could choose whoever you wanted to nominate to be put up for bidding.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I feel like for the next MLPs we do, I think the system should say it was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it'd be cool if you guys streamed that.
Yeah, you should.
I mean,
next time stream it.
It would be interesting because as the players who are getting bid on, I would personally like to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Alex and Nick were like giving me little behind the scenes updates. I'm like, oh yeah, you're getting bid for like $1. But it's pretty interesting to see. We had to create a new currency for you guys, like the pennies. But it's very interesting to see how you guys value different players. I was on Daniel's team, and he had a kind of a interesting approach where he specifically wanted 2 left-handed players and 2 right-hand players. And that kind of worked out really well when I was playing at the MLP. I don't think I ever played with left-hand players, so we had me on the left side, the lefty on the right side, and it was just like we had 2 forehands in the middle, where we both can be. We have a lot of options for the shot there. So if I felt very comfortable with like, okay, if I don't got it, my partner's got it. And for me, I usually prefer the right side because I like my backhand counter. So I like to just sit on the right side with my right hand loaded, my backhand loaded. But being on the left side, I always feel like, I don't know if this is about you guys, but I always feel like I'm just slightly out of reach on my forehand side. If someone like pokes here, I'm not very comfortable with like really stretching here. Maybe out of fear for like, hitting my partner or something. But with the left hand right hand combo, I could just be like, oh, that my left hand's got it, because it's like their forehand as well.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
On the whole, like, did you feel, because you didn't know the people you played with, the lefties.
Yeah.
On the whole, did you feel like it was an advantage playing with lefties, given the fact that you didn't know them? Because it could also cause confusion, right? Where usually the person on the left, if you have a righty-righty combo, is going to take that middle ball.
Yeah.
But I know if you have it dialed with your partner and you know them and there's good chemistry, like having a lefty is probably an advantage, as a lot of people say.
Yeah.
But personally, I feel like I would rather go with a righty, so we just know our roles more than like a random lefty. Yeah. Unless they're like really good, of course.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Against Nick's, we played against Nick's team, and we also played against Annie's team. Against Annie's team, I felt like we were a bit more aggressive on our forehands. So it was definitely a major, advantage having 2 forehands, that we could be aggressive. But against Nick's team, where, we felt like Nick's pressure a little bit more, we were a little bit more timid, I guess. Then we started getting confusion there, because I was like, oh, do I get it? And he's like, oh, does he get it? So against Nick's team, where we felt a little bit more intimidation, that kind of had the disadvantage there, where we had a bit confusion on which forehand to go for.
Yeah.
But if we felt more comfortable, I freaking Nick's all like,
you gotta get pumped up, especially in MLP format.
That's right. He's got the mullet.
Got the stash, short shorts, So, I just love bringing the energy.
It's an intimidating guy to play against. But,
Yeah. So another thing about MLP, so we saw 2 paddles flying about. Literally flying about.
This will be a big topic.
Yeah, so we saw the new Gearbox Pro Power paddles. Adam McKinnon had it, Daniel had it as well.
Yep.
And I honestly can't wrap my head around the paddle. It's nothing like I've ever used before. It has so much power, and it also has an incredible soft game, which for a lot of power paddles you never see. I honestly can't believe it. Did you guys try it as well?
I hit with it a little bit, like 5 minutes during our warm-up, and maybe I'll save mine for later. I wasn't personally a huge fan of it, although I could see why it would be such a game changer, because that thing, it sounds different. It sounds like a delaminated paddle, but it's very muted, very, very quiet. So, you know, when you're hitting, it's not like anything fireworks coming out, but just seeing the ball leave your paddle really fast is like, huh? Right.
Yeah, you like a softer paddle too, right?
For me, I've always liked this softer paddle. It took me a long time to get used to the Lab 6, which is a thermoform paddle. I don't know, for me, maybe I'm a bit more excessive with my movements, which I don't know, that's just kind of my style. I need a softer paddle because I like to swing through my paddles, but maybe with like a Gearbox where it's so poppy, I tried to like 4 flicks with it, all of them went out. And I was like, oh, I don't want to have to dial it in, or maybe I just need to change my angle a little bit. But I know Alex is like
head over heels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I mean, we all know there's a trade-off between power and control.
Yeah.
There's no trade-off here. Like, this was one where I felt that my dinking was soft. It felt like it was quiet. It felt easy to do. But then it was just insane for anything power related, like just a different speed than I've ever even come across, and I think has the potential to truly change the game, not in terms of just the paddle industry, but in how you strategically play the sport, the techniques you use. Like you said, I like to do longer swings too, but that's a lot because I need to do longer swings to generate the power. With this paddle, I could just literally put my wrist out and give it a little bit of anything, and it would go exactly where I wanted to very fast.
Yep.
I only played 5 minutes with it, so I don't know either whether it's going to be a paddle I want to use, but it's definitely one I want to try more out.
Yeah, I'd be curious to try it more out. But,
yeah, definitely. I think if you give it a bit of time, you adjust to it, adjust that power, you compact your swings a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's going to take over. And for me, it'll be interesting to see on the pro scene, you know, if it'll get banned or not. You know, because there's already pros complaining about it and it hasn't even really been seen at many tournaments at all.
Right.
Well, not a lot of pros are sponsored by Selkirk, right?
Gearbox.
I mean,
Gearbox.
Yeah. Gearbox is,
I mean, I came up against them in PPA Vegas and, they're poppy. Yeah.
The Gearbox you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, played against Joey and Roman, so, I mean, it comes and goes. You can definitely, target it a little bit as well. Like, if you're speeding up to certain spots, it's going to come off their paddle a little bit hotter as well. So it does come and go, I feel. But yeah, it's just the miles per hour and some of the testing that's been going on with it is just insane. You basically have like the most powerful paddles here, and then you have the Gearbox paddle right above it, and then you have this huge gap between all the EVA foam paddles, and the Gearbox paddle is right under it in terms of miles per hour.
Yeah.
And then there's that huge gap with all the other paddles that are legal. These EVA ones are illegal, and you've got the Gearbox right there with it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of challenges, a lot of complaints about it. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Do you guys feel like the Gearbox is a paddle that's friendly for beginners / beginner intermediate, like the everyday recreational pickleball player? Do you feel like that's a paddle that a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, this is so good for me, like this is exactly what I needed to help me improve in pickleball?
I think it depends on which model you choose, because a lot of the reviews, I mean, they're all 14mm paddles. They bring out 4 versions, but the control version feels way different to the power version, supposedly. I haven't tried out the control version, but they're saying it has like nowhere near as much power. So maybe in that sense, maybe the control one could be good for a beginner.
Yeah.
Very soft paddle, very forgiving and things like that, especially the Fusion model maybe. But yeah, any other thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure how it would play for beginners, but it kind of prompted a question in my head that I'm wondering. So I could see an argument for both sides, but like, do you guys think it would be more dangerous, like this Gearbox paddle, or just even imagine a more powerful paddle, the most powerful paddle? Like, would it be more dangerous for amateurs at the like 3-5 level, or would it be more dangerous for the pro level? Because for the amateur level, I could see the story of like, well, people are they're less quick, they can get out of the way, they can't get out of the way, they can't block the ball as fast. Yeah. However, people even at the 3-5 level they can swing they can swing a paddle and have less control of it. So I could see that, but then you might also think that at the pro level, people can just hit the ball a lot harder, and can aim better for the body. I mean, I'm not sure yet. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think we're going to see, at the pro level, we're going to see a lot more complaints, but I think we're going to see a lot more efficiency of the paddle at the amateur level. Because, you know, there's people that can't swing through it as hard, and then you've got this paddle that just hits like an absolute truck.
Yeah.
Whereas you said with the pros, they're able to adjust to it a bit more. So
yeah, from a danger perspective, I'm more worried about it at the amateur level.
Yeah.
Because I feel like anyone, I play against players who are not at even probably 3-0 level, and they hit the ball harder than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a power issue at that level. They have a more of an accuracy issue. And when you're swinging this paddle as hard as you can, and you don't have the control to hit someone's feet, and suddenly you're going to hit into the face area, and 3-0s tend to be a little less, they can't anticipate where the ball is necessarily going to go, they can't get out of the way quite as quickly. This is a truly dangerous paddle.
It's scary. Yeah.
It's scary. I truly think this will cause a reckoning in the entire industry, because I think we've slowly improved paddle tech over the last 2 years. Paddles used to be a lot softer, and they've slowly gone faster and faster. But this one's like a quantum leap forward to the point where the sport has to figure out, do we want this? Like, what's the limit? There are many benefits to this paddle in terms of it is easy to control, so it's easy to play with, it's fun to play with, it's quiet. The foam makes it so much quieter, so in neighborhoods where there's houses nearby, there could be a great solution, EVA foam. Yeah. But this level of power is going to be problematic for the competitive scene and from the amateur standpoint of injury.
Yeah, definitely. And it may bring more glasses into play as well. Yeah. I mean, literally a flick of the wrist and you're thinking about putting glasses on, literally. So, yeah, it's completely going to change the game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm almost kind of thinking about like when the Power Air Invicta came out. That was a paddle that was pretty polarizing, like in terms of who liked it. Because the Power Air was always like, people either loved it because of the pop that it had, or people like me who prefers softer paddles is like, I just don't like this paddle at all. So I feel like maybe that will kind of have the same effect where as people try it out more, because I think they're having like stock issues. It's already like out of stock or something, or it's like 4 weeks to get it, which is just insane. Like the paddle comes out and it's like, oh, if you want it, it's going to take you next month. But I feel like as more people start trying it out, maybe not everyone is going to like really love playing with it, because it's one thing to just hit with it and drill with it, but when you're in a game format where your balls need to stay in, people are leaving out balls and it's competitive and you have nerves and whatever, maybe power isn't everything, but like you're saying, the softness of it allows for dinks and all that.
I definitely on your side of the spectrum, I like a softer paddle. If I can't put the ball where I want to, I feel very limited on the courts. And those power paddles you mentioned, the Selkirk Power Air, I really didn't like
the softness of it.
I had no feel. Right. They had great power, but I just didn't feel connected to the ball. And truthfully, Gearbox paddles I hated more than any of them. Like I felt like a small sweet spot. I felt like I didn't quite have.
There goes that sponsorship.
But
True.
The new one, it takes away all those issues that I had with the prior Gearboxes, where it felt soft. And so when you have a good feel to the paddle and feel like it has a good softness to it, you can tolerate a little bit more that higher power that goes along with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting, like powers, as you said, are becoming more powerful, and then at each point we're like, ooh, this is cool, more power. And this is the only time I've really heard like this is problematic and it's reaching that EVA foam kind of level where we might have to adjust it. I mean, so I'm wondering for you guys, like, what do we want the game to look like, right? So it's a very new game. We can still kind of control the play and how it looks with the rules to some extent. So we have a huge contrast now with like the pro women's game and the pro men's game. The pro men's game is like 100 dink rallies, right? And then you might get some little pop-up.
Yeah.
And it depends on the team, of course, but like the teams that are in the finals, most of the time, it's long dink rallies and then, you know, maybe 1 or 2 counters, and then the point's over. And that's because the speed of the paddles and the speed and strength of the men can put the ball away. Where the women's is like obviously a lot more hands battles, and a lot of people like that more. So like, what do you guys personally like more? Because I don't know if it's because I'm like a huge pickleball nerd or what, but I kind of like the dink rallies myself. 100%, yeah. But I don't know, yeah.
I mean, I think for anybody, everyone loves those rallies where it's like boom, 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 what, boom, what, oh my god, and then everyone just leaves like feeling like so much adrenaline. That's fun to play, and it's fun to watch. Like on TV, when you see these rallies going like back and forth, back and forth. For me, I think women's doubles is super fun to watch because they just have great rally battles, you know.
Yeah. So you like that more?
I think, for sure, I like that more as a player and as a spectator, because it's just more entertaining, and even as like a, you know, like a big tournament format, or you're watching like PPA, like I think it's better for audiences to see that level of athleticism where it's like boom, like a lot of rallies, whereas if your rallies end in like one shot or like one shot counter, it doesn't look as athletic. Even though it really is, like, it's like so hard to do what they're doing and to be able to finish the point in one hit like that. It, as an outsider watching that, it's like, oh, it looked fast, but you know, like, you know, why can't they get it back? You know, like when you watch ping pong rallies, it's like, whoa, like back and forth. But imagine if they started playing with like a heavier ping pong ball, where it's just like you could really just hit it hard once and it's gone, or something. Right. Or look at padel. Which is like Europe's pickleball. You know, those rallies look so fun to watch. It's because they're using a softer ball and they're using like a really thick paddle, and they also have like glass everywhere. But those are really fun to watch because they have longer rallies. So I don't know. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. What do you guys think? Yeah,
for me, I mean, I agree. I love watching the women's game, the fast-pacedness of it. Playing's different for me because for me, what makes this sport so amazing is almost the chess-like strategy of it. And I think I would be bored if it was just all dinking. I think I would be uninterested if it was all hands battles. It's the decision-making you have to make between the two. So I'm hoping with the paddle direction, we can keep that balance so that both are viable strategies and you're able to excel in multiple different ways.
Where do you think that balance is now? Like, do you like it how it is? Let's take the men's pro game and like finals level, right? Like, do you like how that is and we should maintain that? Or do you think it should be adjusted already, like right now?
So I would say from a strategic element, the men's game, especially as you get into the gold level matches, it tends to be very slow. And it seems to be very much betting call and hitting 100
dink.
Great dinks, and that can become a bit repetitive. Likewise with the women, it's the other extreme where they recognize that power is the way to go, and so for me, maybe a balance between those two would be pretty optimal.
So for me, I like it the way it is at the moment. I don't want to see any more increases in speed and stuff like that. I like how, you know, with the different formats, you know, with the singles, the doubles, the men's doubles, the mixed doubles, I like how different it is from game to game. Like, I feel like if we, you know, slowed it down to a certain pace and there was hands battles in every type of doubles, you're just watching the same thing in each match. Like, I like how different it is. You know, you go to men's doubles and you watch the craft of the dinks and stuff like that, and you really have the patience to watch that speed up. And then you go to women's doubles and you watch those awesome hands battles, and I just love the diversity of all the different ones. But I feel like where we're at right now in terms of technology, I feel like it needs to be capped like right here. Like
we're done.
Yeah, I feel like we need to stop here. It's questionable if the gearbox should be in that cap or not. Right. I feel like, off my first thoughts, I feel like it shouldn't be. I feel like we should cap it where it's at now, and the gearbox is kind of above that.
Maybe it's the standard, like that's exactly it.
Yeah, that could be the highest point of the standard, but getting back to the point, I love the differences in all the different games that we see.
No, that's a really cool point. I like that a lot. And I didn't think about that. It's the fact that you have options as a viewer. Because you're right, it would be, to me, less interesting if all of the events look the same. Singles is very different than doubles, and mixed doubles is different than gender doubles, and women's and men's are different. And it's cool, like going through the stream or playing or watching in person and getting a different look with the different events. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So another topic I want to talk about as well is me and you talked about this a tiny bit, Ed. So it's about paddle restoration. So there's actually one company that just came out and they've branded themselves as a paddle restoration company. So I'm not too sure what that involves, but potentially, sending your worn down that has no gritted paddle, maybe they juice it back up with grit, I don't know. But, my question to you guys is, are we going to see more things like this? Because at the moment, once you're done with the paddle, the grit's gone, it's done. You can't get that grit back. But, are we going to see more technology in actual, restoration of paddles and maybe spray on grit and stuff like that we see in padel?
Yeah. Well, my thought on it, seeing like what makes companies money, that's ultimately going to be where it's going to follow. Like all the paddle companies, they benefit from selling paddles over and over again.
Yeah.
They have zero incentive to create a super long lasting paddle, because even if they did and people buy it, they're not going to get more money off of that, invention of this super long lasting paddle.
Yeah.
Well, they have a good reputation, and then, like Selkirk, for example.
Right. Yeah, like Selkirk's non-crackable ball,
Yeah, or the paddles are like...
Either it has to be like truly like, something that really works and it doesn't, and everyone's buying it. With Selkirk, I think they know they can have that warranty because they know that a butt ton of people are going to buy that ball because of that warranty. So they have the volume to do that. But if we're talking about an upcoming new company that's coming out, that is going to be a tough market to penetrate on, creating a paddle that's, longer lasting. On your note, though, you're talking about restoration. You're saying, I'm not selling a paddle, I'm selling this magical juice that you put on your paddle that makes it feel gritty.
Well, there's two different things I've seen. So this one company is a service, so you would send your paddle off.
Okay.
They would essentially restore it, make it good, like new, whatever that would mean.
Interesting.
And then they'll send it back to you.
Okay.
And then
are they legit? Is this like a legit company?
Yeah, it's a legit thing. They literally just came about. I can't remember the name of it, but I literally just saw it on Instagram.
Okay.
I can't remember what the pricing model was. I can't remember if it was a one-time or a monthly fee.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just really interested to see what that would look like more.
Does it say USAPA approved?
I'm not sure, but I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be because essentially it's not like it's off the shelf. You're kind of modifying it in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that would kind of void USA approved, maybe.
Well, they might have to get a new one, right? They could run it through, which is expensive, but they could run it through the same standards and then put a new sticker or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's just, to me, really interesting to see if the technology will evolve or not. Yeah.
The other company that someone DM'd me on Instagram saying, hey, have you heard of this? And I haven't. I checked them out. They did a collab post with PPA. So PPA is like they're like sponsor partnering or something. But it's like the spray that you spray on your paddle. But I don't think it's a grit spray. It's a cleaning spray.
Maybe to clean the grooves or something?
Something.
Yeah, because in padel, we see spray on grit.
Like you just...
Yeah, so you can... I've seen it on the paddles, you can do that. And wondering if that will come over to pickleball.
I could see it, because like a lot of the paddles just have spray on grit, so why can't we just like use the same thing?
Imagine you have spray on grit, and like your grit wears down, you just spray it back on, you're good to go. You just refill your can. So I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but that would be awesome. That would solve a lot of money problems with new paddles.
It would require some testing though, because I assume people would go above what they're supposed to on the spray on.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the pros have a tremendous advantage because they get new paddles sent to them every single tournament. To have a new paddle that has great grit on it allows you to spin the ball, which allows you to hit the ball harder. it's a massive advantage.
I mean, how long does it take you guys to go through the grit on a paddle?
Well, it depends on the paddle. I feel like for carbon paddles, it takes a little longer, but for the spray-on grits, it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way Tyson's 002 feels the same as mine. Like, the grit, it just goes much faster. Yeah.
The paddle durability is probably my biggest frustration in the paddle technology, in really the industry as a whole. I mean, I've gone through, no matter what company I use, I basically go through a paddle a month. And either because the handle breaks or it loses, the core deforms in some way. And so when you have such a short shelf life, your paddle's constantly changing on you.
Yep.
And so you never, when you go out there, have the same feel as you did even 2 weeks ago. And for someone like me, I want to know when I go out there, I have a paddle I can trust. And knowing that this paddle is going to change is very frustrating. The fact that we have to have these aftermarket companies pop up, which is a fascinating idea, but it shouldn't be that way when you're spending $200 plus on a paddle that lasts for a very short amount of time.
Alex has had a lot of paddles.
Yes.
Yeah, the grit. I mean, I go through grit in about 2 weeks, which is just disgraceful. I mean, it depends how much you play as well. It's kind of like shoes. You know, if you're running in shoes every single day, for a couple hours each day, you're going to wear them down really quick. But then if you're using them once a week, they're going to last longer. But for me, I'm training a lot. I'm putting a lot of hours in, so I'm going through the grit so quick. But it is a little bit frustrating, with like tennis rackets and stuff like that. We change out the strings each week and stuff like that. So the tension is always at the right tension that we want. For matches, I would always have it set at the perfect tension. I know what I'm getting, but as you were saying, sometimes you don't know what you're getting because the grit just keeps getting lower and lower. So, it is a little bit of a frustration in the industry, I feel.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Paddle maintenance, that's kind of the way to go. Is like with tennis, you have string, you just replace the strings. Pickleball needs something similar.
I could see that happening. I
could definitely see that happening. I mean, even there's this paddle that I just got sent. It's the actually I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this.
You don't have to talk about the name.
I think
you can talk about what happened.
Tease it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So it's a paddle.
Oh yeah.
And it's got metal bolts in it. So like there's like replaceable on the side. And it's nothing fancy, but they're just like nuts you could put on for weight. So if that is USA approved, if there's metal bolts on it, like why can't there be some sort of thing that involves changing out the surface of the thing, or it's interesting. I think there's a lot of room for the rules to kind of expand in terms of like what you can spray on and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think there could be a difference in the kind of maintenance you do in terms of the acceptability of it for the rules, like maybe gluing on the edge guard, because some edge guards just kind of come off, and if a company just does that, that's probably not as worrisome or problematic than the whole spray thing, which is difficult. So I could see like some changes coming pretty fast, and I don't know, that's kind of nice. Like in climbing, for instance, like when you go through your shoe, like you can send it in and pay less than buying a whole new shoe, and they like replace the rubber. So
Oh, Nick, we should share our $1 million idea.
Which was?
So we have.
I have $1 million idea every single day, so it's hard to keep track of them. So sorry, Alex.
On one of our car talks, we talk about a lot of stuff when we're traveling to practice and stuff. We thought of an idea actually this is Nick's, I gotta give you credit, is what if you had a paddle that actually gets grittier as you play with it?
Oh yeah.
For example, like...
I know it sounds far-fetched.
What if you start flying?
Hang in there. We're getting there.
Listen up here. So, like... when you wear a surface down, it's getting smoother and smoother, but what if the material itself is the grit? For example, like pumice rock. If you shave down pumice rock, it's not going to reduce the grittiness of the rock because there's pores in the rock. So what if you create a porous paddle, where as you're shaving off the surface of it, who cares? There's just another layer where there's those little micro holes in it.
Yeah, so instead of having just one layer of grit and then just like the plastic underneath it, why don't we just have loads more layers of grit, just layered, just like that. So as it wears down, maybe we just have more grit underneath. So,
exactly.
Don't know if that's possible, but that's just what happens when we have some crazy car talks on the way to pickleball. We just come up with these crazy ideas, but potentially one day we may see something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds great. Yeah, I don't know if it would affect like.
No, Alex's.
No. If it's possible, that sounds brilliant.
I thought you were going to come on with a but. It's not going to work.
I don't think we know enough
I have no
about paddle
idea if it can work.
manufacturing. Yeah.
It's far out there, but maybe one day we'll see something like that.
I like your big thinking there. That's good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have seen much about this, but has anyone seen much about PPA Nationals coming up?
I've heard a bit about it.
Yeah, so I've seen some videos of like the centre court and everything, with the stands and everything. It is absolutely massive. Like this
cost $1 million.
Yeah,
the
it's
center
huge.
court.
It's at Brookhaven Country Club. I think it's in Dallas.
Yeah,
is that right? Which is very prestigious. And yeah, it looks like this by far the biggest one of the year. They got this thing called Pickleball Boulevard there, which is absolutely massive. And yeah, I'm gutted I can't go. I don't think any of you guys going Nationals. No, so we're not going. We know a lot of other people going. But I think what they're trying to do for this one is the MLP is also going to be in the same venue. So because of now the merger with PPA and MLP, they're going to do it at the same venue so that they can put more production cost into one venue and have, you know, bigger stands, bigger production, but just have it one after the other basically. So yeah, I'm really gutted I'm not going. I feel like it was the one tournament that I wish I could have gone to this year. It looks like the place to be. Definitely.
Why aren't you going?
I'm actually going to a wedding. I'm a best man at a wedding, so duty calls. Yeah, so
what a horrible excuse.
I can't be there for the tournament, but
He'd
I'm going to have an amazing time at the wedding.
Are you giving a speech?
Oh yeah, you know it. So,
I could. Your speech is. I could have been at Nationals, right?
No,
this is how much I love this guy.
This is how much I love you. Yeah.
We'll be turning up in Arizona for the wedding. So shout out Disco Dave. We'll see you there.
Disco Dave. Is that the man of the occasion? Yeah,
so
getting married.
Gonna be fun. Yeah, we're actually on one of the days prior. We're going to host a little mini pickleball tournament. So
there you go.
Yeah,
nice.
Should put some serious money on it.
Oh mate, we'll see. But there should be a lot of college tennis players there.
Oh, okay.
There's some pretty. Dylan just sent me this Airbnb with these amazing pickleball courts.
That was sick.
Did he send you?
Yeah.
I meant to send it to a group. I just sent it to each of you individually.
It was awesome. Yeah. No, that would be cool if we could go there, like do some content. Yeah. That would be like awesome.
Houses 20 people. There's 3 courts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just
you get a little bay group going and
there's a lot of cool spots actually out in Arizona. I see. Yeah, a lot of cool like courts and like Airbnbs you can rent and things like that. Yeah, let's touch a little bit more on your pickleball game. I'd actually like to touch a little bit more about that. So
all right,
I want to kind of talk about like, you know, your training, your mentality and things like that. So like, you know, me and you started drilling a lot more recently once a week, and that's helped improve my game so much. So, you know, talk about, you know, like your strategizing, like how you approach training, not just strategically, physically, but also mentally as well.
So I like to drill the way I play because I feel like that's the best way, and that's why I love drilling with you, because you give it that full intensity, that full energy. It makes me feel like I'm already playing in a tournament setting, and it's very hard for me to go from playing just hitting a ball and having fun to then playing in a highly intense environment. I don't want to have to dial it up. I want to already be there. And that's what our practices let us do. Yeah. So that's huge for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then mentality-wise, you know, when you're approaching training, is it the same as a match, or, you know, is there any differences there?
So there's a balancing act. I'm very competitive, so even in drilling, I like to win.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that I have to think longer term. I need to think that there has to be some growth in my game, and if I'm not willing to take the chances even in drilling, I'm not going to progress to the level I want to, because I'm certainly not going to have I'm not going to want to try and take those risks during tournaments or even rec games. So drilling is the best place for me to make errors and try and, we call it the lab, we like to try and develop new shots, and because the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better.
Yeah, you'll catch us cooking in the lab once a week, you know, cooking up some spice. So another kind of question I have as well is, so let's talk like kind of percentages, you know, with drilling and match play. So what are your thoughts on, you know, what's the right amount of drilling compared to match play? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say you probably want to almost do a 1-to-1 ratio. For every time you're playing, at least for me, I feel like drilling is free money in the bank. Like every time I drill, I almost certainly leave feeling good, because I feel like there's something that I worked on, improved, with games, sometimes I feel that way, but oftentimes I don't. So I want to make sure I always have in my schedule drilling with people that I know are going to help raise my game. And so doing that 2 or 3 times a week is pretty instrumental in my progress.
Yeah. What about the rest of you guys?
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of thinking in the mind of like, not just for me personally, but you know, I do a lot of like teaching for like beginner, intermediate levels.
Yeah.
And for them, like drilling is just kind of out of the equation because, you know, at the recreational level, you know, pickleball is just for fun and that is their exercise. That is like having this games and all that. But the question was about me. For me personally, I like to do a bit more drilling because I like to feel really good when I play. And I like to see, like, when I play games, match plays, that's kind of like my benchmark. But, you know, I like to do that kind of as like a check-in, like at least maybe once a week. But drilling, I like to do maybe like 2, maybe 3 times a week. Whether it's like practicing with pickleball or it's like mobility stuff or strength stuff, something that'll like you said, put money into the bank, and then game day match play is kind of like me checking what's in my bank account kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think I like to have kind of like add a little bit more drilling than match play, but relatively 50-50. I think there's been kind of a perception or trend of thinking like, oh, to get good you just drill. Like people hear Ben and Colin just drill, like that's kind of their known thing. They don't play any practice games, so people are like, oh, they're the best in the world, so I should do that. But I don't think that's necessarily great reasoning because they've played so many games over years. They have that pattern recognition, where I think, you know, I used to be like that, like more last year, like I drilled way more than I played. And I naively was like, yeah, I understand pickleball, like I just need to get better at the shots. But there's so many like higher level patterns and nuance that I just didn't understand yet. So I think it depends where you are and it depends your understanding of the game, but I think seeing those patterns in the game, it's going to be different than when you're drilling with one person doing skinny singles. It's like, you know, they're not going to, you know, if you have it down the line as the boundary, then they're not going to speed up a little bit more down the line, but you'll have to cover that in a game. And there's just so many little details and patterns that you wouldn't see in drilling. So personally, I like doing a mix of both. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I kind of view it as like if playing is the width, drilling is the depth. Where if you're trying to dig a hole and you want a big hole, that's probably not the best analogy. But if you want a lot of volume, I guess, like you need both a little bit. That was a terrible analogy.
I'm struggling to follow.
I wanted to follow it out though. Like, keep on digging. Super abstract.
Yeah, like when you play a lot, you get a lot of like coverage of the game experience. But when you drill a lot, you get a lot more consistency and you get a lot more like maturity in your shots. The quality of your shots becomes better.
Yeah.
So for me, I think when most people drill, they drill one-on-one. And I think that's great because you get a lot more reps. And one-on-one drilling, I hit probably 10 times the amount of balls I do while playing matches just because it's just you have lots of balls, it's just quick action. So if you want to work on technique, awesome. But if you want to get that pattern recognition, drilling 2-on-2 can be very beneficial because I think what makes this sport great is the decision-making aspect of it. And so much of that decision-making aspect requires 4 people on the court, the spacing between your opponents, figuring out when to do what type of shot. So sometimes just doing 2-on-2 drilling, either at the net or coming up with little mini games can be very beneficial.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever like did a day of like 2-on-2 drilling.
When it was raining and we played with
Oh yeah, I guess
we were
that
forced.
time.
We couldn't move, so
yeah, it was raining, so we were playing in literal puddles.
We were just dinking at the net while it was like raining harder than this.
But yeah. So what 2-on-2 drills like are there? Like you said, because now my mind is kind of like gearing up. I'm like churning like some ideas.
Well, there's
like,
a lot of different ways. You just replicate game situations.
Yeah.
You kind of isolate a certain skill, and then that's a drill created straight away. So you just isolate a skill, kind of confine it to certain movements, and you've got a drill straight away.
But you're playing like a game. You're playing it out as a game, but you're starting it off at different stages of the game.
Right. So depending on what you want to work on and what level you're at, because at the highest level, the game becomes much more about net play. So there's a game that we do called Panic Room, where all 4 players start the net. You start with a nice little dink feed, and then you play out the point from there.
Just go, okay.
Anything goes.
Yeah.
You can lob, you can drive, you can attack, you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
And that really simulates the patterns at the net.
Yep.
For players who are still working their way up to that stage, getting to the net's the most important thing in the game. The team that can find their way to the net will win almost the majority of games, almost up to a 5-0 level. That's just huge gains to the net. So you can have one team starts back, one team starts to the net, and you just work on that, and then you switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I noticed with improvement in pickleball is, refining and isolating different skills. Is once you can do that, isolate the different skills and really work on the individual ones themselves, that's when you're going to notice the most improvement.
Yeah, that's where drilling comes in. Yeah. I like the mentality question you asked Alex earlier, and I was just curious what you guys had to say about that, and I'll give my thoughts. What's your mentality drilling? Because I've kind of genuinely gone back and forth in my head over the years of how should I treat drilling? Like, should I, when I'm playing games, whether it's 2-on-2 or 1-on-1, should I be winning or should I be more aggressive? And same with match play and practice as opposed to tournament play. And I've kind of decided, I don't know, what you guys think, but I kind of have two main mentalities where one is I'm just working on things. So which probably means I'm speeding up a lot of balls and I'm trying to be creative in that way. As a whole, either in a session or a game or a particular match, or I shift to I'm winning this no matter what, and it's 100% a winning mindset just to kind of practice both. But I don't know. Is it per point, or is there not that distinction for you guys?
Yeah, for me, I like to have an overarching kind of theme that I'm working on. Whether it be getting more consistent drops, hitting more third drops rather than third drives, things like that. So I have overall improvements that I'm working on, and then I have the mentality that this is game day every single day for me. I'm going out there, I want to win everything. I'm trying to just be the best version of myself, and I feel like I can do that when I replicate game day as much as possible. So there's not things that I'm not working on, but I'm still bringing the mentality that I want to win this. But I think the fine line is that you have to recognise that you are working on things, and you're going to have more errors than usual, and you have to be okay with that. Me and Alex talk about it a lot in our sessions, and just going out to sessions, wanting to win, but still wanting to work on other things that aren't going to hold you back from improving.
Nick and I have been doing a lot of drilling as well, recording our sessions now, and something I've noticed about Nick is when he loses points in our drilling, he gets mad. Not mad, but he's frustrated. And that's for me, I don't, and maybe that's something that I need to work on is I need to maybe care a little bit more. But Nick really puts 100% effort in his drilling, and he's expecting himself to perform at what he wants to be. Whereas maybe for me, I'm a bit too nonchalant in my drilling sometimes. But for me, I kind of have two facets of drilling: stuff that I'm good at that I want to keep honing, and stuff that I suck at and I know I want to put myself under more pressure on. For example, drops and resets kind of things. I know I'm not super consistent there, so when I'm drilling with Nick in that, he's just dominating me at any games we do that. So I don't have that expectation of me to win this drill or anything, because I know I'm just trying to work on it. Because I feel if I'm getting frustrated and really beating myself up on being bad, then it's not going to be an enjoyable drilling session. And for me, that's kind of the most important thing is as much as I want to improve, I have to be enjoying the process. I think anybody who's really good at something, they have to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. Otherwise, I'm not going to look forward to the next drilling session, because I remember me just feeling I suck.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool, thanks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I kind of gave my I kind of have two kind of mindsets. So yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah.
So that was a fun sesh. Yeah, Alex, thanks for coming out here.
Thank you for having me on. This was great.
Yeah, we'll
Anytime.
definitely
Hopefully
do
you'll be back.
more of these.
Anytime, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if you want to meet the nicest guy in pickleball,
Alex Flemming.
I
Doesn't
would
have
put
social
a link
media,
below.
but-
Exactly. He does not have social media,
Doesn't
so
have any links.
you're just
How do
gonna
people
have
reach
to
you?
You just mail.
check your phone number. Put your phone number right here.
You go to your local pickleball court,
court.
you might find him there.
Could get a lesson from him in the Bay Area. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks guys for coming. Hope you enjoyed this episode with Alex. It was awesome. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right.